Coming in. Arya. 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 Do you like to safe travels to church? Goodbye, Arya.
Hey, Kiran. Kiran, am I audible?
Hello everyone, good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, Kiran.
Hello, hi. I was waiting actually on the other links. I was late by 4 minutes. The
Yeah,
link has
Kiran.
changed.
Yeah, Kiran, one question. I have gone through the recording of the February 2025, the REST API batch of yours, the
Okay.
recording part. So, does that REST API has Java also in that pre-recorded sessions?
No, we are not covering Java or JavaScript.
There in the REST API batch, in February 2025, where you had this course 1 year back.
Rest assured, you are saying?
Yeah, rest assured. 1 year back, you have taken one batch. So I thought of going
Mhm.
through the recommendations. So does that course has Java also? No, right?
Okay, teaching Java? No, it is not there in my course in
Okay.
Rest Assured, but Java is used in that Rest Assured course. So it was assumed that participants know the basics of Java in that
Ah,
Rest Assured course.
okay. I got it, Kiran. Okay. Thank you, Kiran.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you everyone for joining. Good evening. And let me also share my screen quickly. Okay. Okay. I hope my screen share is visible to all the users. And yeah, so this is the content we have. So introduction to, so we are stepping now into chapter 1 directly. where I'm going to discuss about the introduction towards API basics. So when I talk about API basics, the very first thing that all of us have to know is what exactly is an API, and what is a good thing it does to a software engineering process, software development process, right? So I'll write some notes here as I speak so that you guys can follow me. So I'll increase the font size so you can see it clearly. So API stands for Application Programming Interface. Pretty simple, everyone is aware of it. But what exactly an API does, right? So I can write the definition, but without writing the definition, I will give you a diagrammatical representation of what exactly is an API. And later I will write the definition. So let me open my Paint application. And let me take a standard example that I take in most of the classes. So think of an e-commerce application. So this is my e-commerce application. And let us also say I am talking something about Amazon.in. So that is the application I'm considering. And in this particular e-commerce application, I wanted to talk about 4 modules. Let us say the modules will be. So this is my module 1. This is my module 2. This is my module 3, and this is my module 4. I'm taking only 4 modules to make our explanation a little easier. And Amazon application has a login module. We are all aware of it. Amazon module also has a logout module. We are aware of it. Amazon
Hi,
has
Kiran.
a module called. Hello. Hi.
Yeah, is this a API class?
Yes, this is API.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this is API testing with Postman, but unfortunately the link that's shared by the institute says Selenium with Python.
Yeah, that's why I got.
Yeah. So that there was a confusion from their side, but I think most of the people have used the same link to join.
Okay. Thank
so
you.
let me, yeah. So the next one is add items to shopping cart. And there is another module called make payments. So I'm taking only 4 simple modules that all of us can easily understand. And I wanted to explain you where API concept comes into picture also. So we know that there are modules which are dependent on each other. Example, if I talk about login and logout, they are definitely dependent on each other. Reason is simple. You cannot log out if you have not logged in. Similarly, you cannot log in if you have not logged out. There itself, I see a dependency exists between login and logout. Similarly, I see a dependency between make a payment and add items to shopping cart. I cannot make a payment if my shopping cart items is 0. Right? It should be minimum 1. So make a payment depends on add items to shopping cart. Not only that, I cannot make a payment in Amazon if I'm not logged in, because Amazon does not allow you to make a payment as a stranger, because only if you log in, it will know your default payment methods. It will know your default delivery address. It will know if any coupons are available, discounts are available for you, right? So here login and logout are dependent. Make a payments and login is dependent. Make a payments and add items to shopping cart are dependent. So any software application you take, right? Example, I have taken Amazon. You might take Ola, Uber, Book My Show, MakeMyTrip.com. Any application in the world you take, definitely there will be certain modules which are dependent on each other. Wherever dependency exists, the concept of APIs comes into picture. I will tell you how also. So whenever I click on logout button, what happens is the logout module is dependent on login, right? So the logout module will send a request to login module database saying, hey, the current user wanted to log out. Please tell me, is he still logged in? Then login module will check its internal microservices architecture database And it will give an answer saying, yes, the person called Kiran is still logged in, or it might say, no, Kiran is logged out already. So it will give a response. Like for every question, there is an answer. So the logout is sending a request and login is giving a response. So let me write here, this one is a request going in. And this one is a response coming from login to logout. So you see these two modules are communicating with each other. Similarly, when Kiran wanted to make a payment is dependent on login functionality first. If you're not logged in, you cannot make a payment. So make a payment will send a request to login. And the question is, hey, are you logged in? Is a Kiran logged in? It will again check the database and it will give back an answer. And the answer could be like, yes, this guy is logged in. Again, you see here, there is a request and response going in. So the first one is a request. And second one is a response we are getting from the server. Okay. Yeah. Now, after the user is logged in and make a payment says, okay, now I have to make a payment. It still says, no, I have a dependency. So it will send another request to add items to shopping cart and says, Kiran is logged in. He wanted to make a payment. How many items are there in the shopping cart? So that is the request. Then add items to shopping cart will check the database and it will give back a response. Maybe the response could be 0 items in the shopping cart or 2 items in the shopping cart, something it will tell. So here I see a request is going and here I see a response is coming. So if you see, this diagram now looks like a typical outer ring road. Too much of traffic in the given software application just with 4 modules. Imagine a real software application with hundreds of modules, 30, 40, 50 modules or 10 modules. Every module talks to each other. Just like human beings talk to each other, they cannot live without talking to each other. So modules also cannot work functionally if they don't communicate with each other. The question is, how are they communicating with each other? See, I'm a human being, you are a human being, so we are able to communicate with each other using English or Hindi or any other local language. But these modules are not human beings to talk to each other. So they need some technology to help them to talk to each other. And that technology is API, Application Programming Interface. So now the definition of API is very simple. Okay. An API is an interface, meaning interface means it's a mechanism. An API is an interface developed to enable data transfer.
Okay.
Between multiple modules. Now, am I doing data transfer by sending request and response? Yes. Am I doing data transfer by sending request and response between login and logout? Yes. Am I sending data transfer between make a payments and add items to shopping cart by sending a request and sending a and receiving a response? Yes. So that's called transferring the data between multiple modules. And where are these modules present in Amazon.in? So here I can say between multiple modules in an enterprise application. This is my simple definition of what is an API. Now, if you search in Google, you might get a little complicated definition, but ultimately this is what everything boils down to. So this is like a simple person giving a simple definition to simple people. So if you understood this diagram, if you understood this definition, that's all about is API. And to make it more easier, you guys do not know about me and I do not know about you guys, but we are still sitting today in a meeting and discussing and sharing knowledge. So if I ask, how did you connect with Kiran? Or how did I connect with all these 13 interested participants? The common point is the institute. So institute is the API here because they enabled the knowledge transfer from Kiran to you and from you to me. So the institute in between is establishing a connection between 2 modules Module 1 is Kiran, module 2 is all the students. So the institute is the API. When you are asking me a question, you are sending a request, then I will give a response. When I am asking a question, then I am sending a request and you will send a response. And where are we all present? In the meeting room that is called as enterprise application here. Now the definition continuation is also there. It is not the end of it. So the second challenge I have is, though I said the modules are talking to each other using a technology called API, if I say, okay, we are human beings, we are talking to each other. How am I talking to you? Using a sense organ called as mouth. How are you listening to it? Because you have a sense organ called as ears. However, what if I say, okay, I am using my mouth, you are using your ears to speak and listen. But I'm using a specific language to talk to you, right? English is a language I'm using right now. Maybe outside the class, I speak to my family members in Telugu. Maybe in office, I speak in Hindi. When I'm traveling somewhere else, I speak in some other language. So language is also important when a person speaks, and that's how the data is exchanged. So what language is used by APIs? That is important. So these modules can talk to each other in any language decided by the developer. So in the industry, you have descriptive languages. So the way English is a international language, Telugu is a regional language, Tamil, Kannada, Malayalam, Gujarati, Hindi, etc. They're all regional languages. Just like that, in APIs, we have something called data descriptive languages, such as you have plain text or clear text format. I'm writing, but I will explain them. HTML is a format. XML is a format. JSON is a format. YAML is a format, and maybe etc. I don't know what is that etc. But yeah, at least I know these 5 formats. So now to continue my definition, an API is an interface developed to enable data transfer between multiple modules of an enterprise application using data descriptive languages such as text, HTML, XML, JSON, YAML, etc. Now this is a full definition of an API actually. Directly, if I write the definition, you are like, okay, this guy has by hearted the definition, he wrote it. How do I remember it, right? That's why I have taken the diagram. Now you will also write the definition because you have the diagram in your mind, right? Think of each module as one person in the meeting room talking to some other person. Maybe they are saying, okay, how is the training going on? Someone says good, someone says bad. Someone says, why is he speaking so fast? Someone says, no, he's speaking slow. Someone says, why is he speaking slow? Someone says, no, he's speaking fast. So some request and response coming in. And you are talking to each other probably in the language of your choice. Someone is speaking to you in Spanish, someone is speaking to you in English, someone is speaking to you in Arabic or whatever language. That's nothing but data descriptive languages. So now you know the basic of API. What basic? What exactly is an API and in which format the API is talking to each other. I'll take a pause here. I would like to hear from you if you have any questions on top of it. I see a chat message. Let me read it first and then any questions you can ask me. Should institute be the infrastructure and the team is an API? No, in my example, all you guys will be different modules. Kiran is also a module because we're all talking to each other. And the institute connected us. So I said that is acting as an API. Or this Teams, Microsoft Teams is also an API, I can say. Okay, Padmaja, go ahead with your question.
Yes, Kiran. So yeah, understood the definition of API, but is API related to microservices or microservice something completely different than an API?
Okay, good question. Let me answer that. So that is another elephant in the room, microservices versus APIs. There's a common interview question and common question when people exchange everything, right? So let me give you a simple example before I technically answer it. So if I start from who we are, like we're all human beings, right? So Padmaja is a human being, Kiran is a human being, Manish is a human being, Geneva is also a human being. But still I want to classify then I will come one step down and then I say, I belong to a gender male. Manish belongs to a gender male. Padmaja and others belong to probably a gender called female. So that's the second classification I'm doing. But does that mean male and female are not human beings? No, our parent class is human beings. Further, we divided them into second classification because whatever reasons the mother earth had got it. So male, female. Then does it mean Manish, who is a male, Kiran, who is a male, Chandra, who is a male, are we three same? No, again, we had a subclassification. Then probably I say I am an Indian. And just for example, I will say Manish says, hey, you know what? I come from US, so I'm an American. Someone comes says, I'm from Britain. So again, we have nationality as the second thing, right? But does that mean two people who belong to India are same again? Like, let's say again, I will take Chandra and Kiran, both are from India. So we'll say we are Indians. Does that mean again Chandra and Kiran are same? No, to differentiate it, again, we have a classification. I say, hey, I'm from South India. Chandra says, I'm from North India. So again, we have a classification. So like this, human beings to gender, gender to nationality, nationality to classification of region, then you can talk about a lot of other differences. Similarly, when it comes to microservices and APIs, we have some differences. So I'm going to show you that differences now. So here I will say, I will also talk about what is monolithic architecture and microservices. So I'll take at least 5-10 minutes to answer this question so that everyone is clear of it. So we have an architecture called, initially the industry had an architecture called monolithic architecture. So let me draw it in red color. So right now I'm explaining monolithic architecture. Okay, my spelling is incorrect, but then, yeah, that's monolithic architecture. What monolithic architecture means is I have module 1, I have module 2, I have module 3, module 4, module 5, module 6. Let's say I have 6 modules: login, logout, make a payment, add items to shopping cart, cancel order, view order. Think of these modules. This monolithic architecture is very old, first of all. Okay. Very old architecture. Not recommended today. Why? I will tell you. Let us say this module is taken care by developer 1. And this module is taken care by developer 2, developer 3, developer 4, 5, 6. So developer 1 is working on some bug fixes, and he's also developing one new feature. So he's ready with the new code. So the new code has bug fixes and new feature developed. Obviously, when someone develops something new, they have to deploy it onto the testing environment or UAT environment, right? So when the developer 1 wants to deploy it, he has to request the developer 2 also to deploy his code. But developer 2 may not be ready. Developer 3 may not be ready. Developer 6 may be ready. Developer 5 may be ready. Developer 4 may not be ready. They are still in between. But developer 1 says, no, I am ready with bug fixes. The new feature is developed. The customer is asking it. QA team is waiting. So let us deploy it. What happens in monolithic architecture is, because of the urgency from one developer or two developers, the remaining developers also has to build their code, and all the 6 developers code has to be together deployed, right? So the third point is, all the developers code has to be integrated and deployed together, even if other developers are not yet ready. This probably is time-consuming activity, waste of time, and not recommended from an infrastructure perspective, efficiency perspective, because testers will find more bugs now from developer 2 code, developer 3 code. So monolithic architecture says developer 1 or module 1 is not independent of other modules. Though they are talking to each other, the deployment process should be independent. So here in monolithic architecture, what happens is the module's deployment process is dependent on all other modules. Meaning developer 1 says, I will deploy only my module. That will not work. All the modules has to be deployed together. Something like if I want to go a movie now after the class is completed, the condition in my family is I have to take all of my family members. But I'm probably worried about the money I have to invest now if I have to take them to a multiplex. Maybe I have to be ready with 2,000 rupees to spend if I have to take all the 6 members in my family. Because that's a rule in my family that if one person wants to go to dinner or movie, everyone has to follow. That's though good from a family perspective, expensive also, right? Same process in monolithic architecture. To solve this problem, the industry came with something called microservices architecture, which is quite opposite to this. So I'm writing in green color. So microservices architecture is the new architecture. And it is what the industry recommends today. And here, the module's deployment process is independent on other modules readiness. So developer 1 says, we are in microservices architecture. Even if you guys are not ready, I don't have a problem. I can deploy only my code onto the next environment because the databases maintained are independent here. The modules are independent. Meaning when I say independent, only from deployment process. Module 1 still talks to module 2. Module 2 might still talk to module 4 and module 5. But deployment process is easy now. There is no overhead on the other modules when one module wants to be deployed on the production or UAT. So this is more efficient, more quick, very less error prone. So this is what Agile is also looking at. If I take my movie example, my family gave me the permission saying, okay, you can go alone. We don't care if you go alone, even for dinner or for the movie. So I'm saving money here. Similarly, here also we are saving money because you're not killing other developers' time. So this is the simple difference between monolithic architecture and microservices architecture. That is the first point everyone has to understand. Second point is when we talk about APIs, we often hear two words. We hear APIs, we also hear web services. Both are almost the same. When I say APIs, the industry means REST APIs or RESTful APIs or GraphQL APIs. When they say web services, they mean SOAP APIs. I'll talk about what is SOAP API, RESTful APIs in upcoming classes. But if you hear the word APIs, they're talking about this technology. And if you hear web services, they're talking about SOAP APIs. Now the question from Padmaja is, what is the difference between microservices and APIs? So just like I said, human beings and then gender male and female. So that human beings here is microservices. So this is the parent umbrella. Then under human beings, I have a category on the left called male, on the right called female. So under microservices, you have these APIs. Then again, under human beings, under male, we talk about the nationality, or under female, you talk about nationality, or you talk about height, you talk about weight, and you classify them. Similarly, under APIs, you have REST APIs, or you have GraphQL APIs. So APIs are born out of microservices. So developer develops a microservice. From the microservices, APIs are prepared by the developer. And we test the APIs directly, which indirectly is also testing the developed microservices. That's a simple way to put at it. Okay, now you guys can ask questions if there is any confusion.
Kiran, right now you explained that web services versus API, which is, I got to know, I got an understanding. But what is SOA? I see, yes, so I mean, you wrote web services, under that you wrote SOAP API. But what is SOA? I keep hearing that also in one.
SOA stands for Services Oriented Architecture, which is nothing but your microservices.
Oh, that is microservices. Okay.
Sometimes
Thank
people also use it for monolithic, but monolithic does not exist today. So from an interview point of view, service-oriented architecture could be monolithic, could be microservices. But today, everyone says it is microservices only. So therefore, some Google search will tell you SOA is nothing but microservices.
That means REST API, right? Not SOAP, not web service. It's only REST API, right? If they ask, do you know SOA, that means it is microservices, which is going to denote a REST API, right?
No. See, web services are also part of microservices only. So SOA means service-oriented architecture.
Okay.
And these services can be developed as microservices, right? So this can be monolithic, or
like
this
as a
can be
block.
microservices.
Okay.
And which means another way to classify this is this can be REST APIs or SOAP APIs or GraphQL APIs.
Okay. Yeah, because I get confused with the SOA versus SOAP. Both looks like only one word, one letter, you know.
Yes.
So
yes.
I was like, what they are asking, which one they are asking, like that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's pretty common. I mean, people definitely get confused because, yeah, that's how there it is. But if you read the definitions also in Google or AI, they tend to confuse you. But as you work in the projects, so even I had this confusion when I started my career. I used to buttify everything and give answers. But over a period of time, as I involved more in testing, more in teaching, more in reading articles, I understood this is the final answer. If I Google it, I might get a wrong answer also. And Google can say, Kiran, you are wrong. But I don't trust all the articles always. Sometimes your experience is much better than what you read online. So my answer, if not 100% correct, 90% it is correct at least. That confidence I will give it to you.
Okay. Thank you, Kiran. Yeah.
So Kiran, can we generally say like API has some kind of it's kind of a function or method where it takes the request and transfers the data? Can we say like that API involves something like coding, but
yes, what you said is true. It is like a function that takes input and gives output.
Okay.
Just like, it is a courier boy. Now, whether you say, example, Swiggy, Zomato, all these guys are my APIs. Why? I'm sitting here, I'm ordering food in a restaurant. So restaurant is probably another module, Kiran is another module, and Swiggy guy is going and bringing it and delivering it to me. So Swiggy guy is or Zomato guy is my API in between. So all courier activities are nothing but your API activities. That's what even in the diagram the modules are doing, right? They are couriering the information.
Okay.
Right. So you see request and response. Request is like I'm ordering a biryani now. Response is, sir, the biryani is right at your desk now. That's it. That's a request and response. Okay, good. Happy that questions are coming in. We're talking about what are APIs, have given the definition, and what is the use of an API also. Let me talk about it. So why am I teaching API? Why are you learning API? That's important. The tool is not important. The tool I'm teaching is Postman. I'm not even talking about it. Why are APIs important? Why is the industry asking you guys to come with API testing, API automation testing knowledge to give you more salaries or to give you a job? Simple. Any mobile app that you take today, any web application that you are seeing today is full of APIs. To prove it, open your smartphone and see the number of apps you have. And I can take a guess. Everyone has an taxi related app, Ola or Uber or Rapido in India. And abroad, Uber taxi is a common thing, right? All these three apps uses APIs. How? When you book a cab or when you book an auto, when you book a bike, your location is shared to the driver through an API, which is through the Android location API or iOS location API. When the driver or the pilot is approaching your home, you get the directions 2 minutes, 1 minute to reach. He has reached. How does he know your location? Again, API. So operating system exposes the APIs which the developer of Ola or Uber, Taxi or Rapido used it to identify it. So without APIs, you cannot book a cab today. You cannot book a taxi today if APIs technology never existed, which means if you need a cab or a bike, you have to walk onto the main road, stand once you find a taxi, stop them and then bargain with them. I want to go there. What is the cost? So did APIs give you the luxury by sitting at home, you're able to book a cab? Not only cab, right? You're able to book a dinner for you. You're able to book breakfast, lunch for you from your home. How are you able to get the nearby restaurants when you open the Swiggy app or Zomato app or any food ordering app? Through your location only, the app is detecting 10 restaurants nearby. And your order goes to the nearby restaurant. And then when the delivery boy picks it and comes it on your way, you get the time saying, 2 minutes to reach, 3 minutes to reach, etc. How? Using location coordinates. So if you don't have the API technology today, you don't have the luxury, or I don't have the luxury to book food online. Same is the case with booking movie tickets, booking events, booking concerts, anywhere, right? So today, if I want to watch a movie with family, or you want to do the same thing, you open bookmyshow.com and then you see which movie is playing in which theater and what time it is getting played, how many seats are available, what is the cost associated, and you have the luxury to choose the seats. Imagine 15 years before, you never had the luxury of choosing the seats. You have to go stand in the box office line and then say, boss, give me 3 tickets, balcony tickets or middle tickets. Whatever he gives, you have to take, and after going inside only, you have a surprise or a shock. But now you have the control. Why? Because of API technology. Then what are the other apps you have? Online money payment apps, right? UPI payment apps like PhonePe, Google Pay, so many other bank pays are also there. Again, APIs are used there. Otherwise, I can simply say that 90 plus or 90% of the applications you are using on the smartphone or on the browser, they use APIs. The applications that are getting developed today, they use APIs. Okay, which means there is a need for API developers. There is a need for API testers, because when someone is developing, someone has to test it. Right? So this is not in only one industry. It is APIs are used in banking sector, in insurance sector, healthcare sector, financial sector, wellness sector, IoT, Internet of Things, smart cities, etc. You name the domain, APIs are there. Because APIs are increasing the efficiency. APIs are also money generating mechanism. It's a money generating wheel for many companies. Okay, example, if I search in Google, what is the climate today? Let me do it probably. So if I just go to google.com, or if I search here, how does it feel now in Hyderabad? Yeah, look at this diagram. How is Google able to print this? Because you see, it is using an API from this website, and this API data is shown visually here. If you click on this Google weather, it will tell you to which website or third-party owner it is talking to get the APIs. So Google weather forecasting data sources. So Google is getting the weather data from the below sources. These are the companies which are providing data. Example, I click on one of these things. Let's say National Weather Service. So this guy is a third-party provider, weather.government. And how is this guy getting the weather data? They have the satellites very high above the sky, and these satellites are maintained by them. They get they invest a lot of money to maintain the satellites and get the weather data. To recover some money, they have developed some APIs, and these APIs are sold to other companies. Like Google purchased it. Why did Google purchase it? To help people like you and me to get data like this. So don't you think APIs are giving money to these websites? Yes. This is one example I have given. Similarly, when you use Ola app or Uber taxi app, the location coordinates or checks change, the Google Maps are loaded. Do you think it's free? No. Uber pays lot of money to Google Maps on a monthly basis, on a call basis. For every ride you book, Google Google gets money from Uber or Ola or Rapido or any other app. So Google Maps are free for you and me when we search anything or get the distance or everything. But when they're commercially used, it attracts commercial licensing fee as well. So APIs are making the life easy, but behind the scenes, it is also making money. So it's a revenue generation mechanism. So I would like to conclude my statement saying APIs are here to stay for the next 10-15 years, which means the demand for API testing will always be there. And today, API testing is no longer an optional skill set. It is a mandatory skill set. See, now I have close to 2 decades of experience. If I say, I don't know APIs, but I'm an expert in Selenium automation, the interviewer says, get lost. Because my 20 years experience is useless when I don't even know what is an API, how do I test it? Forget a 20 years experience. If you say you are like 3 years experienced guy and you still don't know what is an API, how to test it, definitely it does not attract value to your profile, because API testing has become common thing in every project, in every industry, in every company. I recruit so many people, and when I hear someone says, I don't know API testing, for me, it's a clear reject. The moment they are minimum 1 year plus, API knowledge is mandatory. Meaning, when you pass out from your colleges or when you take a course outside before you try your job, or in the first year of your job, knowing API is a mandatory skill. Okay, so that's something I wanted to talk about here. Then introduction data description formats, I think we just discussed it. So these are the data description formats. So when you use APIs, not you, when the developer uses APIs, he can send the data from one module to another module in any of these languages. Okay, so when the developer can send the data in any of these languages, what technology is being used mostly today? Right, so let me answer that. So data descriptive languages. The first format we have in the industry is plain text or clear text format. Then you have HTML, then you have XML, then you have JSON. This plain or clear text format is 100% outdated today. So this format does not use any syntax. This is outdated format today. See, any language like HTML follows some syntax, XML, JSON follows some syntax, but text format does not use any syntax. And this format is completely outdated today, which means the developers who is developing APIs, they would never be using text as the mechanism to transfer data from login module to logout or make a payment to add to cart or module 1 to module 2. So when this format is outdated, some other technology has to come into picture, and that is HTML. And we all know what is HTML, right? It stands for hypertext markup language. And this format uses syntax. This format uses syntax such as tags. I'm sure everyone is aware of the tags that HTML uses, right? So example will be, you have tags like HTML, tags like body, tags like heading H1, tags like paragraph, etc. So many tags are there, example. And this format is also outdated today. So when you hear HTML, it is used for designing the web pages. It is also used for transferring data from one module to another module. So it is outdated from API perspective, not from a development perspective for designers. So when this is outdated, you have XML format that came into picture, which stands for extensive markup language. And this format also uses syntax such as tags. Example, here they use XML, and then they use something called envelope, something called message, etc. So many tags are there. And this format, this is 90% outdated format today. I can say this format is 100% outdated today. So since it is 90% outdated, it also means people are still using it 10%. Let me put it in orange. Then you have JSON format. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. And this format uses syntax such as name, value, pair. I'll explain what is it. And this format is 100% used today. So if you hear APIs, it is JSON only today. The format the developer uses to transfer the data from one module to another module is JSON only. While testing also, you will use JSON. Now I will give some examples for HTML, XML, and JSON. JSON is what I would like to start off with. How JSON looks like, right? So JSON syntax. So the syntax will be very simple. You have a flower bracket and coming and closing. Then in between you will have the name, not the name, key. So this is key value pair, key, and then the value. If you have another key, another value, give a comma to write the second element. Like this, you can have multiple keys. If the last one does not have anything, you have to remove the comma. So this is one example of how JSON format looks like. This is a syntax. Now let me give one example. JSON format example, right? Again, two flower brackets. I'm writing a very simple example. This can be complicated also. So the name will be example. We'll talk about what's happening in this class. So I'll say trainer name, Kiran. Then the course that I'm teaching, API testing. And the tool I'm using is Postman. Like this, I can write multiple things. So this left side is called the key, right side is called the value. Okay, key and the value, key and the value. So this is how a JSON format looks like. And everyone in the industry today, they recommend you to use JSON as the format to send the data from one module to another module when you use APIs. HTML and XML are pretty much outdated. And if you want some examples of how HTML and this one looks like, I can just do a normal Google search and show all the three. So sample HTML format example. Yeah, so this is how a normal HTML code looks like. So you have the tags here, HTML, head, title, body. And every tag you open should be closed with a / here. Similarly, if I try for XML, this is one example of an XML. So it has the tag XML, note is a tag, to is a tag, heading is a tag, body is a tag. Every tag should be closed with a / if you see. So as a tester, we won't be developing these formats. Developer will do it. We will use it only in our code, which developer gives to you. Similarly, if I say sample JSON format example in Google, you get some simple understanding how it looks like. See, this is a key and value based structure. First name, last name, location, online followers, etc. It can be complicated if you want to use arrays also. So this is a little complicated example of little complicated. So employees and then an array comes into picture, array closes here. Furthermore, complicated, but it's a key and value pair structure end of the day. Okay, so now we know what is API definition. We know the data descriptive languages, and we know JSON format, that is more important. And we know what is monolithic versus microservices architecture, right? So let me say here, monolithic versus microservices architecture. Okay, so with this, we have just completed the first 2 points of my course content. Tomorrow, when we catch up, we'll talk about the very important one, which is API client and server architecture. The entire class tomorrow will be focused only on this topic. And this topic becomes a very big foundation for testing the APIs in the upcoming classes. After this, we'll talk about 3-tier architecture in the next day class. Okay, before we sign off for today, do I have any questions from anyone? Okay, looks like no questions.
Hi, Kieran. I've got a question.
Okay, yes, Genevieve, go ahead.
Is it imperative for us to do a JSON course, maybe after doing the API course for better understanding?
No, not at all needed, because I mean, as long as you are learning this from a software testing perspective, you don't have to take up any course on JSON, because JSON, we are not creating JSON. We are using the JSON format given by the developer while testing the APIs. So my answer is no, I would not recommend you to take any JSON course, because that won't help you in any way for API testing, because you are already going off the mark, which is not needed. However, if any one of you is still not understanding what is JSON, maybe I would like to hear what you have not understood, and accordingly I can probably make myself more clear, saying, okay, this is what I probably mean. And we'll talk about JSON throughout the course. It's not that only in first 5 minutes we're done. All the topics I'm teaching will be used again and again in everyday class. Okay, and tomorrow we have class, Chandra. Yes, tomorrow is a working day for us. It's just 1 hour. So I know it's a festival in India, but we have the class tomorrow. Right. So I repeat, everyone, tomorrow we have the class. So please join. The link will be given again on the WhatsApp group by the team. So please look at the link and then join the class. If you have any difficulty joining, I think you guys can make a noise on the WhatsApp group saying the link is not working. Then I know, okay, someone is trying and not working. I can help you guys accordingly. Okay, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the classes today. I'll see you guys tomorrow then. Thank you very much for your time. Good night.